threat. And one of the things that can't be attacked is your self-custody Bitcoin. And one of the things that can be attacked is the ETF. You can't be exposed to that. That's my view. It's not a good idea. And by the way, that'll hit MSTR too. It'll probably hit other stuff as well. Friends and enemies, welcome back. Canadian Bitcoiners podcast.
Friends and enemies, welcome to the CBP. Wanna be better informed? Listen to Len and Joey. Sponsors taken care of right off the top. Bull, Bitcoin, and EasyDNS. The media is feeding the slop. It doesn't matter what topics discussed. Quality entertainment and information you can trust.
That's being planned or at least discussed. You know, we're not going to allow
quality entertainment and information you can trust. Send the guy some value, boost them with some stats. Bitcoin is a scarcity asset. I mean, it's just a fact. Geopolitical, national, down to the local cloud.
Friends and enemies. How great was that?
So, did you make that, or was that somebody that made it for us? Or a combination
our
of the two?
friend Dee's Laughs, who's been watching the show for some time, I take it anyway, made that for us, unsolicited, kind of unsolicited. He made us, or he did a couple of songs where he sampled stuff that we said on the show. And I told him it'd be really nice to have a theme song for the show. And he made one. And he offered to do it for our friendship. And I ended up sending him a couple $100 for his efforts out of the show coffers. But how great is that? You like that intro? I really like that. I made the video today in Canva. I mean, I told Dee's Laughs, my video editing skills are a work in progress, but I think that's really cool. I really like that.
I like the beginning though that you're giving a topic about ETFs and Coinbase. I love it. This is what we should be talking about. This is what we should be preaching and doing. It's not just saying it. We gotta fucking do it. Right?
Yeah. Good to see you. Happy long weekend, I guess. End of the long weekend. What'd you get up to?
Oh, I mowed the lawn, did a bunch of loads of laundry, just a lot of domestic chores over here.
Nice.
But it was good to get them out of the way. It was a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Sunny, but I wish it was a little bit warmer. How about you?
Cut my lawn, cut my father-in-law's lawn, laundry.
Well, it looks like we're in the same boat, eh? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's the domestic dream, right? I think this is what people are after. It's funny, we talk all the time about how the Canadian dream is being taken away. I don't ever think I said to myself growing up, I can't wait to spend my holiday Monday cutting lawns. I took my little one to fireworks yesterday in Dundas, which was kind of funny. Lots of kids there, good times. We didn't stay for the actual show. It's a little past your bedtime, but we saw some friends with their little kids. And
any enemies?
No enemies there. It's just you know what? I kind of was thinking about this a little bit today, just reflecting on the last, year, 2 years. My life has changed quite a bit, and you don't really think about the changes as they're happening. They're kind of minor. And then obviously when I had my daughter, things started to change a little faster. And now they've really just it's a completely different lifestyle than I was living, 4 years ago, certainly 10 years ago. And I got to say, like, for all the guys out there, I mean, I'm going to preach a little bit here. For all the guys out there who think that being happy is like heading to bars and chasing pussy all the time, like there's a time and a place for that. But I will tell you that if you're with a good woman and you're worried about settling down because you don't want to, miss out on the good times that you've been having, you cannot do it fast enough. Honestly, your life will get better. Things will get easier. And you'll find that, this is the way you are meant to live, man. It's not. It
really depends, though. This is not a one-size-fit-all approach. Sometimes people just want to do some things, even at an advanced age. They may still want to continually doing stuff what they were doing at a young age.
Yeah,
all the more power to them. Like whatever turns their crank, go ahead and do it. As long as it's not harming anybody else, I don't give a fuck.
No, I don't. It's not that I care. I'm just saying, don't be afraid to take the jump. Don't worry about missing out or whatever. You may find that you're better off. Anyway, I mean, we could talk about that if we want, but I don't think people want to hear us talk about that. We got some usual.
Oh my God, we got so much to talk about before we talk about the sponsors, but we should talk about the sponsors.
Yeah, EasyDNS. Mark is our friend, not our enemy. Best place for you to register a domain. Mark is your friendly neighborhood registrar, as he likes to say. Len, they got so much going on in EasyDNS now. Mark tells us from time to time that he's added a new service, added a new suite of available goodies there for people who are using EasyDNS. Easy Mail is the latest. Make sure that your emails are safe, secure, not stolen, not hijacked, not any of these things. More important than ever these days, obviously, with the Coinbase breach. Don't forget about domain sure, making sure that your domains are protected. up to date, secure, all these things. There's tons of people gunning for your info and gunning for the information of people who use your services or on your newsletter list or are your client, et cetera, et cetera. Mark, make sure that none of that stuff happens to you. Go there, pay with Bitcoin if you like, and don't forget to use the promo code CBP Media. Get 50% off your first round of buys. And if you're a Bitcoiner, like there's no better way to support businesses than paying in Bitcoin. But it's hard for me to imagine that anyone wants to do that all the same. So go there, pay with whatever you want. But yeah, Mark, obviously, big friend of the show. We're glad to have him as a partner. Who's the other sponsor?
You know, it's bull Bitcoin, and price of Bitcoin is volatile, Joey, these days. It's very volatile. It's always 1 second it's going to be like 103, another second it's 107. So I don't know what to do with Bitcoin, except, well, for me, I'll continually stack, and bull Bitcoin gives you that opportunity to stack what some people want to sell. And bull Bitcoin gives you that opportunity to sell as well. You can do it on chain. You could do it with Lightning. Last I checked, the fees for on chain were still very, very cheap. So continually do that. But that's just my opinion. Do whatever the heck you want to do. But the good thing about bull Bitcoin, we'll talk about this more in depth, is number one, being non-custodial in nature. They don't hold onto your Bitcoin. Number two, everything is done within house. This is a really good thing. And I'll talk about that more in depth. But you could also pay off your bills with Bitcoin. There's a recent new offering with Bitcoin in the United States, and it's just showing off it's a medium of exchange. So you might as well use your Bitcoin to start paying off stuff. You could use your Bitcoin through Bitcoin's bill service to pay your bills, like an outstanding credit card or whatever. You could do that. You can also buy gift cards with your Bitcoin, and you could use bull Bitcoin to facilitate that. And so like that, you can start using your Bitcoin indirectly in the real world. Not many opportunities to do that right now, but every day seems to be more and more of an trade. We have choices with Bitcoin. We have choices, and let's start using it as a medium of exchange. I, for one, am not, and I'm going to start doing it a little bit more moving forward. So check out bull Bitcoin if you haven't yet. Open an account. Referral link below, and it will help us out tremendously if you do that.
Outstanding. Boost, shall we?
You know what? Boost, I fucked up because I tried to get it today.
Oh, yeah.
And for whatever reason, the app wasn't able to get me the boost. So I'm just SOL. So I'm sorry, whatever boost came in this past week, I can't read them. I normally try to get them on either Sunday or Monday, but it was a long weekend, so I forgot what the fuck. I'm not working Monday. I'll try to get it on Monday, but it didn't work. So sorry about that.
It's all good, buddy. Housekeeping last week, Shay and you had a nice conversation through some
technical issues,
through some internet difficulties. Yeah, but a good conversation all the same. We appreciate him coming on, and we appreciate Pablo for putting us in touch with him. Listen to that one if you haven't already. This week, Len, Wednesday, Joe Barbudo, the economic long wave, making his CBP return. It's going to be hard to find a guy who's been more right than him over the last 2 or 3 years. And we're going to talk about where we are in the long wave. We'll talk about some new policy. We'll talk about the deflation, the asset deflation that's happening all over the world. You know, where Canada is, what we've got coming for us. And I will note that although we don't have a guest booked after Joe, I am talking to Madex. I am talking to the Bugle. And I think I may also reach out to Julian Figueroa. The Bugle guys are going to do the show. Madex also going to do the show. But next week, Len, you know what next week is. So it's hard to book a guest for next week, is the Vegas conference. Everyone's going to the conference. So, yeah. So maybe, you know, who knows? Maybe we'll do a crowd Q&A. Maybe we'll do a home team, you and me, for half an hour. I don't know. But got to see if I can get somebody to come on. The Vegas conference is absorbing tons of our normal sort of roster of guests. So TBD, but look forward to those shows in the future. And obviously Joe this week on Wednesday is going to be a banger. You don't want to miss that. He's one of the brightest guys around. And I'm looking forward to talking to him.
Boom, that's the same Italian Canadian Bitcoiners pod. There's the Italian Bitcoin podcast. There actually is one, Joey, and a couple of guys, Guybrush Threepwood and Ricky. They do that show. Actually, Ricky's the big main guy, and Guybrush is his tag along, it seems. So maybe I'll try snagging them to come on. I don't think they're going to Nashville next week. Who the fuck wants to go there to watch?
It's in Vegas, not Nashville.
Oh, whatever. Vegas. Yeah. Whatever. The beautiful thing is there was some sort of crypto conference that took place this past week in Toronto, and we had one friend of the show went there and just kind of showed off that there's some shit coins inside over there and good stuff. Yeah, I don't want to say too much, but I'll leave it at that.
The pictures were great. Yeah,
the same thing, and I hope the same type of treatment is going to be done to the conference in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well let's get started. That's the shortest intro we've ever had. Maybe we can actually talk about
your
Bitcoin.
Name, I don't
for
want to just
50
call you out
minutes
just
today.
in case. You know, I don't. I do, but I don't. So I'll leave it at that. So I'm not calling you in a good way, calling you out. So yeah, Joey, we have a lot to talk about today.
Big week. Yep.
So you know what? I'm gonna leave it up to you. Leave it up to the people out there. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to do more Bitcoin stuff this week? Do you want to do more notable stuff this week?
I mean, there's some good notables too, right? Like the Carney cabinet's a good one. Stephen Guilbeault talking about all this no pipeline stuff. I'm just gonna look through the stories here. Len sends me the stories on Sunday, and I'm just gonna make a quick snap decision here. The Katie Martin story is absolutely fantastic too. Like,
why don't we leave it up to the people in the chat? What do you want to hear? And we'll just do it. Like, and you don't have to say right now, but somewhere along the lines, they can say you want to hear more Bitcoin stuff. They want to hear more notable stuff, and we'll just go from there. I'll just
sure,
one story.
Sure. Yeah, we'll see as we get closer to the hour here, where we go at 7.
And yeah, maybe we'll just make an executive decision, you and I too, Joey.
Sure.
Everybody.
Yeah, whatever. We'll do whatever we want. It's our show.
Exactly, right? Like Coinbase is the #1 discussion point.
Let's do it.
Yeah, the biggest news. At least I think the biggest
my largest equity holding, Coinbase.
Is it? Wait, fuck off. Is that really the case? Thank you. It's not the case. I've continually DCA Joey because you're doing a good thing. But anyway, they are one of the largest crypto exchanges in the world, and they announced they suffered a data breach. We'll be talking about this more in depth, I guess, on Access of Easy.
Yeah.
And they disclosed this data on May 15th, and the data breach was a result of social engineering attack. And it looks like the people that fucked up were the customer support agents, and they were overseas folks. So
they're in India. It looks like they're in India. Like that's what everyone on Twitter is saying. Yeah,
exactly. That's what's being reported. It's some Indian folks out there. And so it's all the more reason why you should look at an exchange like Bull Bitcoin. I don't want to pump their bags, but the reality is those guys do all their shit in-house, including creating memes. And so because they're not outsourcing anything, they were able to control their stuff. Coinbase, they lost that control when they started outsourcing all this garbage. So some of the overseas support agents, they misused their powers to gain access to Coinbase internal customer support system, and they got access to some of the user data. And the data stolen is all the regular stuff and more that we talk about on Access of Easy, Joey. We got like names, telephone numbers, addresses, email address, but then it goes a little bit further. Last 4 digits of the social security numbers,
no big deal.
Bank account details.
Is that important stuff? Any of that doesn't sound that important.
Maybe, we'll see, because the images to IDs that they use to KYC themselves, account balances, transaction history. So now that could be really fucking bad. You know, I would say it's good news for Coinbase because their internal documents related to Coinbase operations weren't taken, but a few corporate documents were stolen, just like training material. So with respect to that, their business remains intact and they're okay. But with this information, if somebody gets access to it, they could create a profile on an individual on who uses Coinbase. So with all that taken into context, what is the plan moving forward? Well, initially they tried to extort $20 million from Coinbase, and Coinbase is saying nah, and they're playing hardball. And in the end, you know, let's be honest, it's just their customers who got fucked. So why pay $20 million of corporate money when it's just so, you know, just offer those customers out there 1 free year of credit monitoring services, and maybe even throw in the next airdrop of shitcoins that come out. Maybe that was one way. Apparently they have to pay up to $400 million for this. It's not going
to be cheap. Yeah, it's not going to be cheap.
No. And Coinbase, to their credit, they reacted. After this, they decided to stop the employment of these overseas individuals, those compromised support agents. Too, you know, that's the barn has left the horse has left the barn, so might as well close the door now. And they also issued a $20 million bounty, leading to the arrest of those individuals. And they notified those customers that were impacted. And from the reports, are saying it's less than 1% of users. Around 100,000 Coinbase users may have been impacted, but people out there are suspecting this number is very, very low, being reported very low on purpose. People on X are saying that they know a number of people that use Coinbase, and all of them seems to have been given some communication from Coinbase that they've been infiltrated. So it looks like that 1%, I don't know if it's truthful. It's probably much higher. And with respect to Coinbase, at least they have seen the light. They got rid of those Peters out there that have strong Indian accents, and now they're just going to be doing the duck cleaning services. No longer are they going to be the Coinbase technical support. So with respect to it, though, thankfully the attack is limited in scope, and I'm saying this limited, we'll use air quotes here, because those people that were impacted, a lot of information was taken, but this could have been even a heck of a lot more worse than what it is right now. Like, imagine if the customer's keys were stolen. It wasn't the case. Imagine if the keys holding on to corporate Bitcoin was taken.
Yeah,
the case.
That's a big one, right? That's a big one. A lot of treasuries using Coinbase to do custody. Yeah. Interesting, right?
Right. That's the honeypot out there, and I would imagine there has been and will continue to be attacks to try to get that. And this could have been an absolute nightmare. And if it was the absolute worst case scenario, this would have taken down Coinbase. But I suspect what we see now are signs of things that will come in the future. If you think Coinbase is this fortress that is impenetrable, no. Everything can be fucking attacked. And I think it's just a matter of time. In the end, all you could do really is use a reputable exchange. Find one that values your data, your privacy. Yeah. They don't outsource shit. They non-custodial nature is really good. Bitcoin focus as well. Like, pick and choose whichever. There's Bitcoin is one, but there's others out there. Try to do your research, pick the right exchange. Don't deal with this garbage like Coinbase. They deal with a lot of shit coins. They outsource a lot of garbage, and here you are. If you were a customer, your information is out there. Good luck. Oh, I can't hear you, Joe. You're muted, buddy. Or maybe I'm muted. Oh, what the heck? Okay, I'm gonna play some. Is it my side or yours? Let me just play a random video. So, ladies and gents, who can we hear? You or me? Yeah, mine is fine. I can't. Mine is line is clear. So, Joey, you're. Oh man, Joey's muted. So yeah, he'll be back. Looks like he's giving.
Yeah, sorry, my mistake.
You're back.
Yeah. Yeah, something happened there. I don't know what happened. But anyway, listen. So the thing that I will say is I didn't get a notification that I was breached. Okay, that's one thing I looked for and tried to find, like, how they were handling this. I saw a few of the customer service emails that went out. Pretty lackluster, honestly, I thought. But I think the more important thing, at least as far as I'm concerned, is that they are, quote unquote, taking responsibility and paying out people who were pwned, like you said, to the tune of $400 million. That's a lot of money. That's the first thing I like. The thing I don't like, Len, is that there's, like, now I'm getting, they say that I wasn't breached, but I'm getting tons of phone calls, steady, from all sorts of people. I just got a text message from some number I didn't recognize saying that my Coinbase, what did it say? I probably deleted the message already, but it basically said, like, your Coinbase account was just tried to log in. Someone just tried to log into your Coinbase account, blah, blah, blah. You should check this out. Call this number if you originated this, or if you didn't originate this attempt. You know the deal. So they're telling you that you weren't hacked, like you said, and that number that they're reporting is very low, if I had to guess. The other thing for me that's important to remember here is that, like you mentioned, Coinbase's probably custody is close to, like, fortress strength. Fine. Even if you believe that, they're only as strong as their weakest link. And you see that with stuff like this. You're going to these foreign call centers. They're socially engineered by somebody, and before you know it, they have your phone number, your social insurance number, your address, all these different things, I'll note here that this is why it's so important not to keep your Bitcoin.
Uh-oh.
What? What's wrong?
You froze. I don't know if it was me freezing or you.
I don't know. I look fine. But the thing I will say is that it's important not to keep your Bitcoin at your residential address. So if you live, at some apartment, or you have, like, one property that you reside at, you shouldn't be keeping your keys and all your stuff there. Okay? Should not be doing that. The reason for that is because if you end up in a situation where your address gets leaked, there will be a time when Bitcoin is worth enough money that the risk incurred by someone who's coming to rent you is worth the chance they're taking. And if you don't think that that's a problem, and you think that, you're armed at your house, you're going to fight off an intruder, like, fine. But the better move is to just not keep your keys and everything in one place. There's services with which you can do this. I'm not necessarily endorsing any of these services, but there are services out there that will do multi-sig for you. I think there's a place for those. And it seems to me, Len, like the more people use these big exchanges and have their address leaked, have their totals leaked, have their whatever leaked, that maybe these services grow in terms of their user base. It becomes another honeypot, in my opinion, at some level, but that's a story for another day. I just don't think that people should be taking this lightly. Like you're at what is price there? 105 on Bitcoin USD. Like that's quite a bit. If let's say you're one of these people with like 50 Bitcoin, right? Came around in 2013 or 14 and you got 50 Bitcoin. Someone has your address now because you used Coinbase once upon a time. Like we all did, by the way. What is the thing stopping them from coming to your house now? What is the thing stopping them? 3 or 4 people coming to your house. You know, if you got 50 Bitcoin, if someone can see on your Coinbase account in your transaction history that you've accumulated 50 Bitcoin through Coinbase 10 years ago or 15 years ago, whatever, 12 years ago, and now you like there's no, evidence that you've sold or whatever, they'll come to you. Coinbase should be on the hook for a lot more than 400 million, in my opinion. And it's people's safety now. You might be talking about some OGs needing to move. You've heard stories now. I think Ben actually tweeted out that he got a phone call, like a threat of violence or whatever. So like these guys are not fucking around. It's a lot of money sitting out there in Bitcoin. It's $1 trillion and change in market cap, and a lot of those coins they've been dormant for a long time. And if you're a Coinbase user from the old days, a lot of you probably are. We are for sure. Your address is out there. I'm fortunate. I've moved since my Coinbase days twice, but all said, that's still that information I want to be out there, and you shouldn't want it either. And I hope Coinbase is taking a task for this by somebody, though I don't see that happening. Certainly not the U.S. legal system. I don't think they're going to pursue this. So,
well, the obligations end at them just making their customers whole.
But they shouldn't though. Like because as soon as someone is hurt or kidnapped or whatever, like at that point you have to at least entertain. I would guess the Coinbase legal team is thinking
I know where you're going,
this.
and I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. I would guess the Coinbase legal team is considering these things right now,
but
as they should be.
By doing so, that's an admission, though. And I think that's a slippery slope for them.
I'm with you, yeah.
To minimize the amount of damages they have to pay, they just have to really make their customers whole and maybe provide a little bit of a carrot on top of that. And other than that,
credit monitoring services or something?
Right. Something like that. It's just something so minimalistic that it's not going to impact the bottom line. Yeah. But it will be enough to appease lawyers and the legal system to say, look, we've done our job and we've done a little bit more. Yeah. Anything beyond that really should be done, but I think it puts them in a position that they would have to really pay out. And it may put or set a precedence moving forward then. If something else happens again, then they'll have to do what they did this time around in terms of extra. And as a business, whatever. Like all I say is just use a better exchange. There's better exchanges out there. Coinbase, they're notoriously aligned with shitcoins. Right, like there's a lot of shitcoinery going on there.
And this is why, like, pathetic. Yeah, and this is why I'll just add too that Coinbase is obviously publicly traded, and MAU or DAU, like the active user count, is what they really care about, and it's what investors seem to care about in a lot of the cases. So, Coinbase, it's worth Coinbase's time from an equity valuation standpoint to really ramp up the number of people they have in their database and ramp up the number of people they can say are active on their platform every day. And those people, Len, they often don't have the means. Like, you think about the person who gambles on shitcoins, right? Like, does that guy have the means to protect himself if something happens at his home address? Like, probably not. Does that guy have the bank account to stomach a loss, even if it's just short term, while Coinbase decides how they're going to reimburse those accounts? Like, probably not. You're looking at a lot of pain for these guys. And one of the things we haven't talked about a lot on the show in the last year, because we've just been honestly winning basically at every turn, is, how many people will this turn off from Bitcoin? whether we like it or not, to the normie, Coinbase is still synonymous with Bitcoin, and they shouldn't be, but this is sort of the way it is. If this turns more and more people off to Bitcoin, it's, I think, a net negative. You want people coming into the space. Coinbase, for all its faults, is still probably top of funnel for a lot of people, especially in the States. So, you know, you're kind of, you're damaging what could have been a solid top of funnel company for a lot of people, because they will affiliate this with a scam now. When you search for Coinbase on Google, this will probably come up for at least the medium term. It'll be one of the first results, right? You know, big hack, big social engineering nightmare, whatever they want to call it. It's not good. None of this is good.
It points people in the direction of like ETFs and stuff.
Well,
unfortunately, it does that.
Yeah, I mean, we disagree.
Right, like
we disagree on the ETFs overall, but yeah,
the custody is done by somebody. They take care of, they manage it all.
Yeah,
right. Oh, and it's so beautiful. The less you have to do, you just have to give them your money.
It's just number go up, right? Come no custody, no nothing, no sovereignty. It's, you know what the other thing too is, like, another positive. If this had happened 3 years ago, what would the price of Bitcoin have been? You know, what would the drop have been on news that Coinbase was, you know, hacked? I keep saying hacked. I'm using that term sort of proverbially here, but hacked to the tune of $400 million. Like, what would the price of Bitcoin would have dropped? What, 20%, 30%? More.
I'm surprised it was resilient. It did drop a little bit, but not
probably not on that news though. You know,
I think it's understated. Remember, they're saying 1% of the customers.
But that 400 million number is not going to be understated. That's going to have to be reported on some SEC filing in the future.
They're saying that it's being reported 180 to 400 million. So that's out there in the wild.
Yeah,
it's just whatever. It seems to with respect to the price of Bitcoin, that's deflected it, and it hasn't really impacted it. Also, if this happened in 2022,
oh god, imagine
during the
chaos.
The downward, that would have just fucking driven this to 4 digits.
Agree.
We were getting dangerously close.
When did Coinbase go public? 21. So
yeah,
you know, they go public in 21, and a year later they lose $400 million in user funds at an outsourced call center. Like, you couldn't write a better story in terms of down talking and downplaying the significance of Bitcoin in the financial system, right? But now it's you know, to Bitcoin's credit and to the community's credit, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Coinbase is no longer synonymous with Bitcoin for the average person, and that's one of the reasons the price didn't drop the way that we're, you know, hypothesizing that it would have if it was 2 years earlier, 3 years earlier. That's a good sign. It's a good sign. And this is a battle test, right, for Bitcoin, stuff like this. We haven't had a good battle test in a while.
Well, we had the op return shit come up.
Yeah, but I more mean like on the number go up side. The op return stuff is important too. We talked about that a lot last week and the week before. I agree with you there. But as far as like a normie world, NPC world battle test, this is one of the first we've had in some time, and not that difficult a test, I will admit. But it's good to see that people are realizing that Bitcoin's value doesn't come from whether or not Coinbase is secure or not.
This next story is one that I think is very positive. It's Steak and Shake.
You like this, eh? Yeah, tell me. Yeah. Okay, so why do you like it? Tell me why you like it.
So let me just lay what it is for people who are unaware. It's a burger joint that operates in the United States and in Europe too. For whatever reason, there's no stores in Canada.
They're in Europe? I didn't know that.
Yeah, from what I read, and so they are now accepting Bitcoin as payment through the Lightning Network. And this started on May 16th. So as of May 16th, just 3 days ago, you could go to a Steak and Shake and pay through Lightning to purchase your meal. And people on X are showing off receipts and all this shit that they made to purchase. Even today, I saw another one. And just be careful, though, that, you know, this may not be the flex you may think it is, because the IRS will be looking at this and they may want their 35 cents of capital return that hasn't been reporting your taxes. So just keep that in mind. So that's essentially what it is. I also want to note that there are some stores, maybe all of them, the first 5 customers were given a commemorative Bitcoin token, a coin, like a physical coin, as a way to say thank you for making your purchase with Bitcoin. So what I like about this is because it's a peer-to-peer exchange. You're using Bitcoin as money. And that's really what we should be pushing for, what Bitcoin is. Not just simply a store of value, but it's also money that could be used to replace what we use as money. And that could really increase the case use of Bitcoin and make it, well, the adoption increase, right? It's not just store of value. It's not just putting money in an ETF. It's not money or Bitcoin companies buying Bitcoin. Those are news. They can, good or bad, take away what you think it is. This is the shit that I like. I want to see this being used as a fucking currency. And I want to see more stories like this, but it's going to be an uphill battle because the fact it's deemed to be a commodity, and you have that capital gains bullshit that has to be applied when you sell Bitcoin. So it's going to make it harder to entice people to sell their Bitcoin. But when you have more and more stories like this, as a movement grows, then maybe, just maybe, it could push lawmakers into changing the existing laws and consider Bitcoin as a currency moving forward. It may not happen overnight, but you need more of these stories to change the lawmakers' minds.
Do you think? Okay, I'm going to disagree with the last part of that. I actually don't think you need more stories like this to change lawmakers' minds. For one sort of big glaring reason, Bitcoin is growing in value now to the point where people who own Bitcoin have a ton of wealth that soon, if not now, they'll be willing to spend for goods and services to improve their lives, to improve the lives of their kids, whatever. If the government continues to hold hostage all that captive wealth because of, old school, really, tax regimes related to capital gains and, trading Bitcoin or whatever they want to say, right? Like every sell is a trade, you got to pay. Every spend is a trade, you got to pay. They can keep doing that if they want, but people will just either hold the Bitcoin and take loans against it for less value and further lever the economy, which I think now there's at least some awareness in the mainstream that this is a bad thing. So they can either do that, or those Bitcoiners will just leave those jurisdictions and go to friendlier ones. There is no magic soil anywhere in the world. Canada is great because of Canadians. America is great because of Americans. If those people, the net producers and the sort of cultural guardians of those nations, leave for greener pastures because they're being treated with a friendlier hand in other jurisdictions, then America will stop being America and Canada will stop being Canada. And, the new Bitcoin friendly nation X or whatever that pops up will get this money, this wealth, and this productivity. So I think America, and I think if I look at the administration and the way they talk about Bitcoin and the way that Lutnick specifically talks about it, I get the feeling they're going to start moving toward this. They want to unlock that wealth. They want people to be using their Bitcoin, spending their Bitcoin, and contributing to the GDP, as opposed to holding it, watching the number go up, playing with their Bitcoins, whatever Trump said at the conference last year. I think that there's going to be a move toward allowing for spending without, burdensome, cumbersome tax laws. I think that's coming. But that aside, Steak and Shake accepting Bitcoin on Lightning. That's huge. I am really shocked that they set up a system. What's that?
They wouldn't take on chain.
No, but I know they wouldn't. But I'm saying it's nice to see these guys go the extra mile as far as accepting Bitcoin. It's really not just symbolic, right? Because like you said, on chain is basically a joke for small transactions. But Lightning takes a little bit more work, right? You got to set up some rails on your own, and
100% they outsource this.
That's fine. I don't care. I don't care if they outsourced it, because what I see is these guys took it seriously enough that they wanted this to be a good experience for people who are using Bitcoin, and maybe they'll benefit from it. I don't think it's going to contribute to their bottom line materially at all for the time being, but down the road, who knows, right? We'll see. It's interesting.
One thing
Bitcoiners love supporting Bitcoin businesses.
Yes,
and I haven't, people will do it.
I haven't heard of one story of a Lightning payment not going through with respect to Steak and Shake. I mean, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I haven't come across it.
It's good.
So whatever they're doing, how they have it set up, the liquidity, all that fucking shit, it's working out well. Like I say, I think they outsourced it.
Who's doing it? I wonder. There's only so many companies that could do it at that scale, right? I wonder.
My guess, they got Phoenix involved. That's my guess, but who the fuck knows?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But still, I want to see more stories like this, because Bitcoin, in order for Bitcoin to take over, right? Not take over, to be adopted as something that other than just a fucking commodity that you could buy in an ETF or through Coinbase or through MSTR or whatever. We need more stories like this, right? But the reality is, it fucking sucks right now to spend Bitcoin just because of the administration burden required. how much was your buy price? When did you buy it?
Yeah.
What was your sell price when you? And then you have to fucking provide this. And then who knows? The tax man may want you to provide more information for other things, and they may want to look in to see if you made other purchases, and you're opening up a can of worms that shouldn't have been opened in the first place. But you need trailblazers out there to fucking just do something. Without that, we'll just be treading water, and there's going to be no change. Right? Change is only done is when people want it, and when people are showing that there's a case use. Until somebody does it, like, not to say that Steak and Shake is the be all and end all. It's small potatoes.
Yeah.
If you look at even Steak and Shake, the number of stores that they have, it's been slowly dwindling. They've been closing operations. I don't think it's all that is successful as a business.
When are they going to become a Bitcoin treasury company to try and survive?
Is it fucking
are they on that
publicly
route?
Traded?
I don't know.
That's
not sure. I'd love to know though. It's
Let's
funny, these guys are going this route.
Yeah, it is.
So there you go. Is it possible to
parent
become a
company is
treasury
called
company? I don't know.
Biglari Holdings Inc. Traded on the
they're
New York Stock
Italian?
Exchange. Biglari.
Sounds Italian.
Bigliardi? No. And then BH.
You have mixed picks in the chat saying that the company doing the lightning management for them is TriSpeed. So I've not heard of that company, but it's not, like you said, it's not surprising they're outsourcing it. I still give them credit for going that route.
You know
what?
They're trading at 241 USD.
Time to get on board. This is rocket ship.
Christ. And you know what? Like in the past 5 years, it's gone up from around $55 to where it is now. You know what? Maybe this is the new stock we should be purchasing. Fuck the MSTR.
We got to get off Semler
Selling
and
everything.
MSTR and
get on. Yeah, you know what? Let's talk about MSTR now. Like,
sure. Okay.
Right. So there's some news that came out today with respect to MSTR. They didn't buy Bitcoin. I want to talk. They may have. I don't know. But what the thing is, I found to be very interesting is this guy named Anas Hamza.
Okay.
He filed a class action lawsuit against Michael Saylor's strategy.
Yeah, this is a bullshit suit. But anyway,
so
go ahead.
So this guy Anas, his lawsuit, he claims that MSTR has misrepresented the fundamental aspects.
I think you're misrepresenting fundamental aspects of this guy's name. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, sorry.
He's very litigious. I don't know. You're pretty brave to be doing that.
I'm just reading the Mr. Anas here. He's claiming that MSTR misrepresented fundamentals aspects with respect to Bitcoin and their investment strategy. And he's saying this violates security laws. And others besides Anas could also jump on board because this is a class action lawsuit, right?
Of course.
If you held MSTR stock between April 30th, 2024 and April 4th, 2025.
That's me. That's me.
You could jump on board. All you have to do, you have until July 15th. All you have to do is ask the court to appoint you as the lead plaintiff for this thing. So if you have any questions, I could even give you the telephone number to contact. If you, we can all call in and get some information. But yeah, I found it to be very interesting. Pissed off about the volatility, I guess, of MicroStrategy. But I don't know. I don't think there's going to be much to this. This guy, why did a lawyer take this? I mean, class action lawsuit. Don't they get paid at the end?
People are dumb. There's probably so many people who lost money on MSTR trying to play.
There's a lot of people that made money in MSTR.
Oh,
too.
for sure. I mean, I made a small fortune in MSTR. So did everyone else I know, basically. Yeah, I think the big thing is that the suit also claims that he's misrepresenting the profitability of the Bitcoin buys. So what is the implication there? That he doesn't have the Bitcoin he says he has? Is that it? I mean, it's like impossible. The lesson here is that people want proof of reserves from these guys. I think.
He says misleading statements regarding their business operations and prospects, specifically made false and misleading statements and/or failed to disclose that the anticipated profitability of the company, their Bitcoin-focused investment strategy, and treasury operations were overstated.
I mean, how
He's also talking about the volatility of Bitcoin and magnitude of losses.
Yeah, that's his problem. It's more he's really accusing Saylor of having like a character flaw, right? Like basically calling him a liar. I'm not sure that you can sue somebody for overselling a strategy. If you've ever listened to an earnings call, famously Uber on a call, I think it was this year or last year, Len, they talked about how they were going to have what they call.
I'm going to hardwire my computer. I'll be back in just a sec. So
sure. So I'll keep talking. The thing, Uber, in terms of like overselling stuff and whether or not you can be sued for that, Uber on an earnings call said that they were inventing basically like a high traffic route, a repeated route that was going to be available at certain times a day. And you just have to walk a little bit to get to a certain part of the route to get picked up, and they'll take you down the route. And, at the end of the route, the car will turn around and come back the other way. And like they sold this as like, I think it was called like Uber Share or something like that. But really it's just a fucking bus. It just sounds like a bus route. And I don't think Uber got sued over that. And last time I checked, Uber stock price is at an all-time high. So I don't think overselling something in terms of like a stock is really something you can be sued over. It's more an art form that these guys are all practicing on, especially on earnings calls. Saylor more than most, obviously, but doesn't mean it's illegal, I don't think.
Enron and Bear Stearns.
But your video's locked. I can't see you. I can hear you, but your video's locked. Yeah.
I'm here.
Don't worry about it. Keep talking. Maybe it'll come. Maybe it'll kick back.
Okay. Well, we can talk about maulers next, and it looks like Strike is not doing any funny business with the Bitcoin. That's
what he says. Yeah, that's what he says. Yeah.
Right. So you were mentioning that's what people are going to be doing is with the lending of Bitcoin rather than selling it. So I suspect I'm with you on this, that this type of business is going to be much more prevalent in the future because people don't want to deal with the headaches of capital gains taxes and shit like that. But with respect to this, Maulers, there was a lot of questioning with what they're going to be doing. He's saying, no, there's no funny business. It's going to be just given to their partner. Bitcoin is going to remain as collateral and not handed out. So remember they once used, Strike did, what was it? Prime Trust?
Yeah.
As one of their, so they're still going to use another.
Do you think that this guy, not to like, again, I don't want to like character assassinate Jack Mallers, but what are we talking about here with this guy at this point? Like where is the delivery on all the things he's promised over the years? Are you drinking out of a clear Dixie cup? Like this in this economy, you can't even afford a mug, eh? Wow, jeez.
I couldn't find my fucking bottle.
But you just happen to have a clear Dixie cup handy.
I had to get one. I have a few handy here, so I decided to just, what the fuck? It looks like my screen is now no longer frozen, so there you go. See, and you know what? It's clearer, it's water. This is what I drink. It's
man. Anyway, listen. I
want to point out something else with Mahler's thing, because he was also saying, and we also talked about it, the 12% API when you lend your Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So they said they're going to be addressing this because in the next little while, they're going to be changing.
How are they going to address it? What is the plan to?
They're going to lower that interest rate.
And what does that mean? What does that mean?
Well, it's no longer going to be 12. It's going to be 11.99 or whatever number they provide.
None of these things move independently is the thing that I would warn people, like risk moves up and down with rates moving up and down. And, you need a certain amount of protection against, it's just like the solution, Len, honest to God, is just do not take loans against your Bitcoin yet. It's not a mature market. It's easy for him to charge 12% because there's not enough people competing yet. And when there's more people competing, you get a better rate. That's all there is
competition
to it.
Makes it.
Yeah.
One smart fella is saying that there's going to be a single digit
APY. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
So you're talking a reduction of 2.1 or more. And also, remember, when you're dealing with this type of service, the volatility of Bitcoin really could wreck folks.
Yeah.
As the value goes down, if there's a drawdown in the price of Bitcoin, you got to provide more collateral. And if you don't have that, well, you're going to get wiped out. And
what are the lending rates?
I don't know. It's been a long time since I've looked at their product.
Ledin's annual rate is, ooh, goodness. What do you think it is?
The way you said it, I'll say 10.5.
10.4. Fuck, you were
holy fuck.
Yeah, wow. Go to the track. Yeah, great guess. That's fucking high too. It seems high to me.
And I think that's probably industry standard. And
yeah.
So but what's going to happen now with Strike offering something that's going to be more competitive, Ledin is going to have to move their rates too.
For sure.
To want to keep customers. There you're talking about having then competition provides better experience for the customer. So this is what you want to see. But in the end, I mean,
okay, so I'll tell you right now,
stay away from these services.
The actual rate, if I go to, so if I went to the Ledin website here, they have a calculator. If I send one Bitcoin, I get back 53.7 53.7K USD on a 12-month term at a 50% LTV. Obviously, the starting rate is 12.4%. So high. That's fucking high, Maurizio. The competition is coming now, right? I think all these guys are having meetings about this. You're probably right.
Dave Ramsey.
Okay, Dave Ramsey did not flip anything. This is like a clickbait, simply clickbait, green clickbait story about some fucking guy who's like a subservient.
It wasn't him that said it.
Yeah, some other fucking guy. And by the way, he didn't fucking say Bitcoin's part of a balanced portfolio. He just said it's not going anywhere. These people will never understand Bitcoin. Okay, they'll never get it. This is just a garbage story that retards on Twitter are like, Dave Ramsey, he's converted. You have to be 0 IQ to be going to all these other YouTube channels, not named CBP, and reading and listening to these people tell you that this changes everything. Dave Ramsey, shocking Bitcoin secret revealed. Don't be retarded. This is all just clickbait nonsense. Watch the video. It's like, I don't know, 4 minutes or something, I'm pretty sure. And in the first 3 minutes, you hear everything you need to hear. So go check it out. Ramsey's not switching anything. The day Ramsey admits that Bitcoin is a legitimate vehicle for savings and investment is the day Dave Ramsey becomes obsolete. Just remember that. He's not going to ever tell you, don't worry about housing, don't worry about that, just buy Bitcoin.
Well, he's the boomer investor for boomers.
But he's like the worst of the worst, right? Like he says you should never have a big mortgage, impossible now. Should never, buy a car on financing, basically impossible now. Like he's living in a different world, completely different world.
No, you're right. And he's also right. If you could somehow do that,
I know. I'm not saying he's necessarily wrong, but it's impossible advice, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Unless you have a huge amount of wealth, it's impossible to do that. But if you do have a huge amount of wealth, you're probably not going to do that.
No one's listening. No one's ever gotten rich listening to Dave Ramsey. Like that's just not. He's not. Yeah, he's not making you rich. There's no doubt about that.
You're not using fiat and leveraging against fiat in order to increase your well, and not to say people should do this. People get wrecked in the whole process.
Dave Ramsey never giving you the advice to open every piece of mail the bank sends you with a loan opportunity and just piling it into Bitcoin. Dave Ramsey's never going to tell you that.
Do more stories, or we could just transition?
Let's do a couple more. I'll do a couple more.
Katie Martin.
I love this. Did you watch the video?
It's a short clip. I
watched the whole thing. It is so good, Len, how dumb this woman is. And she's like talking nonstop about Bitcoin and the teeth
There you go. Please give some context here for people who aren't aware. By the way, she's my no corner of the week for just even having this type of fucking thinking. But
there's a lot
for people that didn't watch it or listen.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways to spin the Bitcoin scarcity thing. If you're not a fan of Bitcoin, you could say that it's manufactured scarcity, and so it shouldn't count. You could say that things need to be useful and scarce. And if you look at on-chain traffic for spending, it's not that much. It's just people trading it, and it's become a financial instrument. Like I don't think it's a valid criticism, but it's a lot closer than Bitcoin is scarce and valuable because it's scarce, but my teeth are scarce and they're not worth billions of dollars. Like that's not a good argument against Bitcoin. And it's funny, she kind of gives up the game during the interview when she talks about how of over 1,000 or 4,000, some insane number of FT quote unquote analysts and article writers and things of this nature, right? They did a stock picking contest where they had to pick a bunch of stocks, including like potential stock shorts. And last year she finished 5th from the bottom of all the people in the contest. So
how did the dartboard do?
Did it beat her? Better. I don't know. Probably better. I'm not sure.
Well, with respect to the teeth, you have all your teeth, right? Like there's no fit.
I had a bunch pulled when I was a kid, but all the ones I'm supposed to have, I have. Yeah.
So I would imagine to you, your teeth are worth quite a bit. Like,
sure.
I don't know how much Bitcoin you have, but you may consider trading all the Bitcoin you have just to keep your rest of your teeth for the rest of your life.
If it came to that, I mean, I'm not so sure. I've seen some of the work that people are getting done on Instagram and Twitter. I could probably just get some new teeth or something.
But on the open market, your teeth are worth nothing. I'm sorry to say.
Exactly.
Unless it's like
I never have to worry about someone rehypothecating my teeth when I give it to them as loan collateral.
There's no jewel encrusted in it. It's not gold, right? It's just a fucking tooth. So value in the market is fucking nil. But to you, it's worth a lot. And that's what Bitcoin is. How much is it worth?
It's
on
not
the
my
open
teeth.
market?
I maybe only have a certain amount of teeth, but I have an unlimited, amount of enamel, and so they're actually not scarce or rare or anything. So yeah,
Boomdust is saying she's been covering Bitcoin for over 5
she
years.
has. She mentions that she's been like
Wow.
writing about it. She's just stupid. She's just stupid. There's
Truly
no
pointer
other.
of the week.
Yeah, there's no like. I try not to. Actually, it's not true. I don't try not to call people stupid on this show. I call them stupid pretty much every week. But like, there's like a difficulty associated with covering something for 5 years and then still not understanding it and offering sort of the worst form of entry level rudimentary criticism of Bitcoin scarcity in a public forum when you're talking to some of the best and brightest, right? Like, you can agree or disagree with Jeff Walton, punter Jeff, about his MSTR strategy and thoughts, but there's no doubt that the guy has done research and feels this way about MSTR because he's done some work on the stock and on the company and on the financialization and understands things like, Bitcoin per share and these other metrics that he thinks contributes to what will be the most valuable company on the planet. You can agree with that or disagree with that, but there's no doubt he's done the work. You can agree or disagree with Saylor talking about stuff like, using debt to lever up your company to buy Bitcoin and raise the price and raise the value of your company and raise the debt. Like, you can agree or disagree. You can say it's a Ponzi or a flywheel. Fine. No one cares. Like, no one's going to fight with you about this, but there's no argument about whether or not he's done the work to see whether this will continue to be successful or not. He's thought about this a lot. His board has thought about it. His C-suite has thought about it. What we are, I think at some point, owed by the media that if we're going to continue to engage with them, we are owed some level of work being done, proof of work, as we like to say. Talk to me about what you've learned about Bitcoin before we sit down for a long form interview. And she just hasn't done any. It's really that simple. There's no way that any thinking person could come up with that criticism, that analogy, if they had done even the littlest bit of work on Bitcoin. It's like impossibly dumb.
See, Boomdust is saying she shorted MSTR without understanding it. That's fucking ballsy.
That was why she finished last in the contest. That was like one of her paper stock picks. Yeah. So like,
also, she didn't put actually like real.
No. I mean, Len, someone that dumb doesn't have any money to put on any of this shit anyways. So it's not like she could have used a real portfolio. Like, come on. I don't. It's crazy. Completely insane to me.
One more or quit it?
Fuck it. Let's keep going. Why not?
Robin Hood. It looks like they're coming to Canada.
Yeah. Sort of.
Yeah, at least they're going to be offering us a variety of shitcoins. That looks like that's what they're going to be providing us in terms of their level of services, because they offered 250 million Canadian to Wonderfly, and that is a Canadian shitcoin exchange. They also have BitBuy and CoinSquare under their umbrella, so they got a few exchanges there. And the 250 million Canadian, I don't know what it is in US dollar, 180. Million, whatever the fuck it is. That's a 41% premium over the trade price of Wonderfly stock price. So it's
hard not to take it. Yeah, hard.
If you're
someone got rich on that for sure.
Yeah, so they see something here that they want to really fucking get into the Canadian market. Why? I don't know, but if, like I say, with respect to Coinbase, Robinhood is kind of the same bullshit, right? They're offering a lot of shit coins. I would expect that they're outsourcing a lot of trash. So. Maybe. Yeah, I would. If I'm gonna bet, I'm gonna say yeah. And so, like, if you're gonna deal with them, fucking be very careful. You see what happens to the Coinbase customers. So, with respect to that, fuck Robinhood, fuck Coinbase, fuck them all, and deal with a better partner when you're talking about Bitcoin.
Yeah, we should get Jordan Anderson back on the show. It's been a while since he's been on. We were in our infancy when we talked to Jordan at the BitBuy headquarters. I think he came on the day they were bought last time, right? I think he came on, if you remember that. So it's like every couple of years there's a buyout within that thing. Yeah, so and he's out of there now. He's moved on to other stuff. I think he's with Mark told us the other day. I forget now, but
don't remember, and even if I do, I don't want to say in case it's wrong.
He's always, you know what? There's some guys I just like, and whether he goes to work for a shitcoin casino or not, I don't care. Like, I'm always willing to have him on. Plus, he gave me my Bitcoin 100,000 hat. He came up to me. I was super hungover at the first Bitcoin conference emceeing. He came up, saddled up next to me, and pulled a hat out of his backpack. He said, "Here, it's for you." All right, thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate that.
That's it, Joey. Let's go to Notable.
Let's do it. Thanks for coming. If you're on audio, stay till tomorrow. Or I guess wait till tomorrow. If you're on video, stick around. We're not going anywhere. We'll talk to you in literally 0 seconds.
And don't be a Katie Martin.
Katie Martin, 5441. Okay. So listen, I bought a Yeti water bottle on sale on Amazon the other day, and it came today. It's the worst color possible. I don't know what you call this color, like seafoam or something. But I've put some great stickers on it, and I'm looking forward to bringing it to work tomorrow.
Can
I hold on? I'm gonna unmirror. I'm gonna unmirror my camera. Hold on. I have to. I'll do that for you here. There, can you read it now? No, you still can't. It's upside down.
It's tax. There it is. Tax is extortion. Inflation is theft.
Yeah, your government is stealing from you.
I'm
There's
not
some other bangers on here.
Well, you got a bunch of stickers. How the fuck do you get these things?
Nadex gave them to me, and I've been keeping the stickers that I've accumulated over the years. I have some great orange pill ones, like the ones that were given away for free a while back. You remember those ones? Those packages that they used to send out?
Hook me up. I got to cover the rest of my car.
Yeah,
so maybe I can just use these stickers to do that.
I'll see if I can find it. I think they're in this closet right here. This is like the studio closet, all the boxes and shit and stuff that I bought over the last few years. But yeah, I'm gonna fill this thing with stickers and tote it around the lab. Maybe, I don't know. You know what I think is funny too, that like how much can you tell about someone from the stickers they put on their water bottle? You think quite a bit
more on their computer, I think, than their water bottle.
The laptop sticker. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. You're the only person I know that put a sticker in a water bottle. Like to me, everybody I've seen had a water bottle, it's always just blank. So like, yeah, I would expect those stickers to not last that long, right? Because
no, they'll last. They'll last.
You think so?
Oh yeah. My wife's got a Yeti water bottle, and she's had stickers on there forever. She's like,
holy fuck,
the most hydrated woman on the planet. Can I just note here? I saw that BTC Priestess is in the chat. I've been thinking a lot about this 2 wives thing over the last little while. This discussion we had a few weeks back. If you had more than one wife, right? Like, let's say you had multiple wives, like she was suggesting is like a good idea. I'm not saying it's not a good idea. I'm sure it'd be fun some nights and a real pain others. The thing that I asked today, I had to mow my in-laws' lawn because, my father-in-law is getting older. He needs a hip replacement now. So it was my week to do it. I went over there to do it. What if I had a bunch of sets of in-laws? Like, would I have to do chores and put up with all these in-laws at the same time? Is that what I'm supposed to take from all this? No. Like, what would my responsibility be to my multiple sets of in-laws, you think?
I can't say this is the right thing. Perhaps one theoretically could just outsource this to the significant others. I'm not saying
maybe the trick is actually you need like multiple husbands.
No.
To do the work for the multiple in-laws. Like I don't know. And then you're just back at monogamy.
No, it's winter time. It's a huge fucking snowstorm. Your driveway's shovels there. Go ahead. Right? I guessed. That's all theoretical.
I don't know. So. They got. I had a good time doing it. It's fun. I always like seeing my in-laws.
So there is a drawback in your eyes.
Yeah,
having multiple.
I'm half expecting to get a Twitter DM now from our friend there about this. I don't know what to make of all this longhouse talk, but you're rich enough to afford 2 wives. You are not mowing the lawn for your in-laws. Oh God, here we go. Yeah.
No, I know some wealthy.
I can send over an unemployed Coinbase customer service rep to do it. He's looking for a job.
I know some wealthy folks that still mow their lawn.
Cutting the lawn is like it's like copacetic, right? I think that's
but they do stuff for their in-laws too. They're just always busy doing stuff.
Yeah.
So like it is what it is. Anyways,
yeah.
Brandon Johnson,
love it. I knew we were gonna start in Chi-Town. My favorite guy,
go ahead,
BJ. Yeah,
you want to lead off this?
He says he only hires blacks because they're the most generous race. That's the thing he said. I think in an interview.
Yeah, paraphrasing. It seems.
What is wrong with this guy? Like, even if you think that, I don't know if that's true. Like, I'm not saying it is or isn't true, but like this guy can't help himself. How did Chicago get lucky enough to get rid of the worst mayor on earth, Lori Lightfoot or whatever her name is, and then they fell backwards into this guy? This guy, a year later, this guy is an unlimited treasure trove of stupid. The haircuts, the gift room, like it just never stops. It never stops with this guy. He's on the show every week. We're talking about something this guy
He's
did.
a multiple. Yeah, I like him. I hope he runs again, and I hope he runs again and wins. Because if we lose this is great talking points.
It's bad for the
and
show if he's
he's
not in office. Yeah.
Like, well, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I don't have anything to say. I know you probably. Maybe if you want to put any more flavor.
This guy's obviously never hired Italian grandmothers for city roles, because I'll tell you that Italian grandmothers very generous. So,
New York State is going to be handing out $400 to 8.2 million households, and they're doing this because this is what they deem to be the first ever inflation refund checks. This is going to be mailed to eligible New Yorkers in October and November this year. No need to apply, right? Just it happens automatically. And Ontario did the same thing not too long ago, just before the election. I think we all got around $200.
Aren't we due for another check soon? I thought we were.
If the election is done, they got a majority.
No more checks, I guess, till the next election. Okay.
Yeah. So I bought the dip with that, by the way. It was wonderful.
Oh, didn't we all?
It was I got the lowest price. I was fucking the only time in my life I ever timed it. In fact, I got the lowest. Like in the past few months, it's been the lowest price. Anyways, New York's doing the same. They're going to be airdropping money to residents. And what could you say about this, right? Like $400.
Did we not just hear from Eric Adams that they're in like a budget emergency, and now he's giving away, what's the number end up being? 320 million, something like that? More than that? What is it? $400 you said to how many people?
8.2 million.
Yeah, 300. I think that's 320 million.
So
quite a bit of money to be giving away.
This is part of this year's budget, right? That's the one thing they say, like, it's already been earmarked. This money has been.
Oh, well, no problem then. Really, then it doesn't count.
Yeah, sure. It's already spent, right? Like, let's just spend it wisely. But if you got to give money because people are fucking hurting and because of inflation, like, get to the root of the cause. And doing this, obviously, is going to make it worse, right? Like, whatever. Nothing else I got to say.
No.
A beauty of a story in Los Angeles, California. I don't know if this is true or not, but the homeless over there, one homeless guy broke into the light pole. Those light poles that have the lights that shine on the streets. And he got the power from that, right? Because he needed fucking power for his tent. So he fucking ran a wire straight from that to his fucking tent with a bunch of like these sketchy wires that were attached, and some of it was exposed. I don't know if this is true or not, if it was just a troll or it was fake, because the voltage from that apparently is either going to be 480 volts or 277 volts. It's an odd number, but that's what's used in the state of California for these things. So he needed a step-down transformer. Probably didn't have one, but still, in the end, I don't know if it's truth or fiction. Given it's California, we talked about a lot of stuff. Remember, people stealing stop signs and all. Like, there's so much bullshit going on over there. This potentially could be true, but I don't know. Anything else you want to say about this beauty of a story?
I mean, what can you really say about this?
I love fucking California. Just like Toronto, I love
it's
Toronto.
It's great. Yeah, I mean, California is an unlimited treasure trove of stories. I'm waiting for the Palisade rebuild stories to start hitting. The Palisade fire is now 6-7 months behind us, and Adam Carolla starting to do man on the ground videos and talking about this stuff, about how the richest people on the planet are going to start hitting a buzzsaw when they start trying to rebuild. I can't wait to see what happens, but we'll find out soon enough.
So speaking of Toronto, in the private chat, Joey, I put
I see it here. Yeah.
Punch that fucker up, and it's.
You want me to put it up here? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll play the audio of this. Apparently it's the Toronto mayor. They're receiving these shipping containers that is going to be used for. It's great. Please play it.
D's laughs. We need another fucking theme song sampling this video. Okay, here we go. Let's see.
This is beauty.
This is exciting because I'm in front of a construction site. It's home to 55 seniors. They're going to move in early spring next year. We're building it
next year,
and Queen Community Center, a very well-known, very good social service agency, is going to come and operate it. These seniors that are going to be here will get comprehensive support, whether they need mental health or any other kind of services. So yay.
Yeah, so they're shipping containers. Like they're literally shipping containers. They have looks like a boom bringing that shit around. And fuck, like what could you say? This is what we've come to in terms of dealing with the homeless and housing situation. Is people are going to be living in retrofitted.
She hits you
shipping
with the
container.
yay at the end. Yay.
Yeah.
You'll
Yay.
be living in a fucking. Oh my god! And I guarantee, if I Google that green community or whatever, custodian of the shipping container condo farm, I guarantee there's going to be a couple of fucking scandals. I can guarantee it without a doubt. There's no winning with these guys.
The city of Hamilton purchase a bunch at a price that far exceeded what you could get them in reality
from a fake Aboriginal business. I'm pretty sure it was the story that
Yes,
the guy
yes.
on the reserve
Alibaba
got the
was-
store. Yeah, exactly. Got the fucking tents or whatever from China and claimed they were
like $6,000 each, and they're selling for 45 or so.
What a nightmare.
So yeah. Anyways, let's talk about international students in
Can we
Canada.
just get these comments in the chat? Is she really proud of putting old people into sea cans? Is this Canada or Somalia?
If it's good enough for
Holy-
stuff coming from
It's
China,
good enough
like,
for Temu halls. It's good enough for our seniors.
yeah.
Just unbelievable, man.
If a drop shipper is going to
I
take,
gotta
why can't we
tag.
put people inside it?
I gotta tag Ron Butler in that. We should get Ron Butler back on the show too. That guy's fucking jokes.
So international students in Canada, apparently they have filed a number of asylum claims.
Oh my god! What a
20,000
surprise.
Asylum claims were done last year, and this year we're going to be surpassing that number. And generally, when you come here as a student, you are going to be going back because you're not a refugee. You're just coming here to study, right? That's why you're given the visa and given entry into Canada for. So
Yep.
they're trying to circumvent. I think a lot of people are trying to circumvent the system in order to maintain residency here, or maybe it's somehow hit a home run and get status here eventually. The number of asylum claims, I took a look, and it's gone up considerably, not just for like students, but just in general. Last year we had 171,000 claimed for refugee.
Cool.
The year before was 143,000. So that was in 2023. I didn't check. Sorry, 2022 was 91,000. So there's a big jump from 91K in 2022 to 171 just last year. I didn't check 2021 and 2020 because of COVID years.
Yeah.
But even 2019 was 64,000. So you can see
significant jump. Yeah.
Yeah. And the number of cases that are being heard is low because they don't have enough people out there to hear the cases, to review them, because there's a lot of work to determine if somebody's indeed a legitimate refugee.
I can help. They're not. And they should be made to wait in the country from which they are applying until their case is reviewed. It's really it's really that simple. There's nothing to it. It's so easy. But because of these like stupid fake international laws we pretend we give a shit about, like, just send these people home. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, me and Ben Rabideau got into a bit of an argument when he was on the show about this, because he was saying that he thought, we're going to see drop-offs and TFWs and PRs and it's going to be fine. Like, no, they're not going to leave. They're going to find other ways to try and fleece you. And this country's so suicidal in its empathy that it's just going to refuse to do the right thing. It's just going to refuse. You have to wait in the country from which you are applying. Otherwise, this is just not going to work. And you're going to just overload the country with people who are fucking lying about asylum. And by the way, the people who come here on shitty diplomas, they refuse to go back, and then they lie about asylum. Do you think these people are going to contribute positively to your society as a Canadian? They're not. Let me break it down for you. They're not. And they're losers. Like, go back home. That's all there is to it. There are good people out there who want to come to Canada. Bring those people over. Let them contribute. These clowns are not among them. Period. End of story. We got to stop pretending otherwise, or we're fucked.
They're here. They're not going home.
I know.
Live with it. You know what? Boom, us talking about.
I'm not fucking touching that because
but
that
I'll
is a
say
hot
this.
fucking button topic.
There's somebody in my street that is now a citizen and came to Canada, and he was one of those people.
South African farmer.
Yes.
Yeah.
and he came here.
I mean, the South African. We'll talk about South Africa. Sure, why not? Why not just nuke whatever
the guy
reputation I have left?
Wonderful guy. I chat with him every so often.
The South African government putting out that press release about how farmers, most of whom are white, I take it. I'm not 100% sure about this, but they're not. They say that white farmers are not trying to escape danger. They're trying to escape reconciliation and the truth or whatever. Like, yeah, that's sort of the same thing. Like it sounds to me like you guys over there are trying to kill people and they should just leave. Like, Len, there's so many problems with like asylum and refugee claimant systems because of the United Nations. And again, like these really stupid and fake international conventions that we claim are, the stitches that keep the world together. It's just not true. There's going to come a time soon when the U.S. leads the charge. If they're not doing it already, you can make the case they are, obviously. And by the way, the U.S. doesn't follow any of these rules if they're ever inconvenient. Just want to point that out. The U.S. is going to just leave these international groups, and they're going to do whatever they want for the good of their country, for the betterment of their people. And they're going to be so successful because of it. And it's going to be hard to ignore this as Canada, as Mexico, as a European country, as the UK, as whatever, right? So, the more I see stories like this about fake refugees, fake asylums, all this stuff, the more I think, we're eventually going to go this direction of independence. It's only a matter of time. Canadian people and productive people will not stand for this for much longer. And you're starting to see the threads unravel on that all over the world, basically.
They're here. And you know what? They're not going home. No matter how much you want to say we change it, they're not.
No, they're not going to leave. I know.
Right.
I think you're right. I think you're right. The U.S. is even having trouble, right? The U.S. Typical kind of, clown world outcome here for the United States. There's no judicial involvement or court involvement when people come over to the U.S. to quote unquote claim asylum or come as an illegal or whatever. No one cares. But then every single deportation attempt has to be individually reviewed by a court of judges. It's got to go through appellate courts and Supreme Court and state courts. And like, it's just so laughable. The idea that anyone thinks this is anything but a political vehicle for continued, left-wing dominance. It's just like, it's obviously wrong. And we have to do something about this. Like I said earlier, though, if this does get to the point where productive people and agile people, more importantly, are affected, then it's going to be, time for us to leave. We talk about this on the show, right? You mentioned it on the Discord all the time. What's your GTFO plan? You got to have one.
A lot of people, they've been...
We had to start a channel on the Discord for GTFO planning.
Incredibly that there's enough people out there that are taking action or thinking about taking action, which is awesome. It's better to have a plan and not have one. Agreed. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Now we got a trio of topics we could talk about. We could talk about the tariffs the counter tariffs that were repelled. We could talk about Elections Canada. We could talk about the cabinet.
Let's talk about the tariffs.
Budget.
The tariffs thing. The budget thing we'll talk about too, because it's important through the lens of the tariffs. Are we talking about how the Prime Minister quietly, kind of behind closed doors,
in April,
brought the tariffs to zero before the election? Yeah. So interesting stuff. It's interesting for two reasons. One, because obviously the messaging during the campaign was like, we have to go elbows up. We have to be serious about the Trump White House, and there's a threat to the country's sovereignty and our economy, and blah, 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 wants to break us to buy us, all this stuff. We've heard it all. It wasn't really the bill of goods that we were sold, that the taxes came down basically to zero before the election. That's one thing. But the bigger problem is that you'll remember the commentary, and, controversy is probably too strong a word, but there was some discourse in the press and on this show about the two budget platforms. I just did a CBP quick current last week that came out on Friday or Saturday about the Carney split budget, operational versus investment, and sort of some precedents for this and what you might expect and the risks and rewards. This is before the story dropped about the tariffs. I wish I would have had that information because it would have changed the way that I approached that. But the thing that's important is that in the liberal platform budget costing, there was billions of dollars in income from new tariffs placed on the United States. And when that was released, the tariffs had already been dropped to zero. So there was, I dare say some dishonesty there from the party about the nature of the tariff income, the plans to keep those tariffs in place, whether or not the tariffs were in place at the time. And then they criticized Poilievre for his unrealistic costing. It was a big thing on CBC, right? Carney was the guy with the experience, and as prime minister, he had done these things already, and he had plans for the economy going forward. And here were the costs and the how we were going to bring this money in. It just wasn't true. And now he's won the election. He's very close to a majority just at the ballot box now. That's if he doesn't get anyone to cross the aisle. I suspect he will. It won't be that hard to do so. Doesn't seem interested in making any appeals for support to any of the other parties, which tells me he's got a plan to get exactly the majority he needs. And you can make the case this was all built on a foundation of sand, right? That's probably the kindest way to put it. And I don't want to go too much further than that because the details are still, I think, a little cloudy, and he's not talked about it, in the press yet. So I'll wait to see what he says, but it doesn't look good, does it?
Well, he could govern like a majority because there's not going to be enough numbers to bring him down. They're like around 170 seats, give or take.
Yeah.
And
still needs votes, though, does he not? He still needs votes.
That?
Still needs votes.
Yeah, but you're correct. And from whom does he need the votes from? Could you? I mean, not by specifically. Like, could you name the parties that have to all vote him out? So it's the Conservatives.
He need everybody, right? He needs Greens,
Correct.
Conservatives,
Correct.
NDP, Bloc.
Correct.
They all have to align. Yeah.
Correct. And one of them won't play ball.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, and it's the NDP. And because of that, he could govern like he has a majority until the NDP sort out their financial situation and your leadership situation.
Yeah.
Until then, they're not going to want to go to an election. It just doesn't make sense. So every time there's going to be a vote in which the NDP don't like it, but by saying no, it would trigger an election, they'll abstain.
Yeah.
And so that's their way of showing displeasure.
No, you know better than me. I mean, you're the sort of politics
This is the
guy.
way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I can't see it any other way.
It's wild that we ended up like all this stuff. It seems like such a whirlwind the last 2 months,
The Liberal Party came from the fucking
down 20 points, 25 points, whatever. Yeah.
They were dead.
Yeah. All time
They were
bag
fucking
fumble by
dead.
Poilievre. Yeah.
They're now governing again, almost majority.
When's the
territory.
by-election in Alberta, by the way? You expecting that to happen in July, I guess, would be the earliest it could happen?
I guess. And you know what? We quickly to talk about what is going on there. So Poilievre running, he was talking about the Alberta separatist movement. I'm not sure if you caught wind of his comments with that.
I didn't.
So he is the leader of the Conservative Party, right? Not leader of the opposition, leader of the Conservative Party. So he has a very prominent position, and it's a national party.
Yeah.
And so he's talking about he's against separation from Alberta. Alberta has to be part of a united Canada. And he is painted into a corner. He has to say this. But by saying that, though, it's going to probably make it a little harder for him to get elected in that. It's not going to say that he's not going to. That is a very strong conservative thing. But he's probably going to piss off some people that want to separate that are in Alberta. Also, I have a sneaky suspicion that there's going to be a movement to create another federal party that is spawned from Alberta. It seems like Alberta spawns all these federal parties. Fuck the Reform Party, which then, if you follow the lineage, became the current Conservative Party. Started in Alberta because the West wanted in. Now the West is not going to be in because this guy,
the West wants out, is the new National Party. Yeah,
and he's not going to. So, like, I think there's going to be another movement to start another federal party, and it's just going to start from fucking Alberta, and it's going to split the right. I'm not sure if it's going to happen so soon, but if this continually goes around where you have this discussion about Alberta separation and the Conservative Party not being supportive of it, why wouldn't there be another party that just spawns from it?
It's difficult for me to think about a way forward for Poilievre, whether he wins the by-election or not, whether he supports Alberta separatism or not. I just don't think he's a good politician, and the Conservatives, until they realize that, they're just destined to lose.
He's a wrapped politician.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe him. He's a
wrapped Pierre.
So there he is. We have the new cabinet that came out.
Is it new?
A lot of the, Karina Gould is not in it. That's one. And
That's a tough pill to swallow for her, probably.
Yeah. And so a lot of moving around of the decks, the chairs on the deck, but some new faces. So
Erskine Smith or whatever, the guy who was the housing minister, also snubbed. I'll probably say some unpopular things here, but I'll say them anyway. A lot of criticism of Carney for picking the same cast of characters, Guibault, Freeland, Jolie, and just like you said, moving deck chairs around on the Titanic. Except it's not the Titanic now. It's that ship is full steam ahead. I get why people are upset because he did campaign on change, and I think he views himself as a face of the franchise type prime minister. That he is the guy who is going to make the decisions. I think that's evidenced by the way he treated Guibault and LeBlanc talking about pipelines and energy, saying stuff like, we're just not going to do a pipeline across the nation anymore. The energy corridor could mean hydro lines, could mean all kinds of stuff. And he's basically saying in his interviews, including to Capellos a couple of days ago, we're open to pipelines. These guys can say whatever they want. It's not a black and white answer. We're open to pipelines. Like, he doesn't care what these guys say. I don't think he actually cares what any of his ministers say. And so for that reason, he's not really concerned about who they are. He's going to do whatever he wants anyways. And I think those guys will just fall in line if they're forced. And if they really find religion somehow and don't want to do these things, Guibault in particular, obviously is feels very strongly about the environmental stuff. If they don't want to do it, he'll kick them to the curb, I think, if need be. That's one element to the story. In defense of our prime minister, when people say he should have picked different cabinet ministers, my question would be who? He can only pick from the flowers in the bouquet, and he's got the same flowers that he had before, whether it's Fraser, Freeland. Those are the people that the party wants, and those are the people that are most important to the party. And that's what people who voted for the party want. So would you have him pick against the base, pick against the cabinet, pick against the sort of best interest of the party? He can't go outside of the elected MPs for the cabinet positions.
Yes, you technically you can. Harper has done that. He picked.
What I'm saying, though. Like if we're being honest here, pragmatically, he's not going to do that.
It's been done. It's been done in the last 15 years.
But he's not going to do it. And so, he's picking from the bouquet that he had handed to him on election night. And if people don't like that, then my suggestion would be, if you want to see different cabinet ministers, then vote for different MPs. And the country didn't. So that's the end of the story. I think it's really as simple as that.
He is changing the direction of the party because he is the leader.
I think
of
so
the
too.
Liberal Party.
Yeah.
And whichever way it's changing, it's not the exact same set of priorities, set of goals that it was under Justin Trudeau.
Not. Yeah.
And because of that, a lot of people are upset that we're not going to have a budget until fall of this year. But keep in mind, he only was elected to the leader of the Liberal Party. Was it March? Yeah, it was March.
February, March, yeah. Where do you come down on the budget? Do you think you should have a budget or no?
Let's look at historical examples.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have to look at when a election took place, and after the election, there was a potential for a budget to come out. So budgets come out historically in April.
Mm-hmm.
So the last time we had something like this was in 2011. And the election was called, I'm going to guess, roughly February, March, and wrapped up April, May, something like that. The Conservatives tabled a budget before Parliament fell, and they tabled almost the exact same budget when they came back with majority government.
Same leadership. Harper was the leader in both cases.
Exactly that.
Yeah, that's the big difference.
So there was the change. The only change there was they had a minority government versus a majority. So the budget was very much the same. Now you have to go way back in time to 1979 when Joe Clark came into power. He came into power, I believe, in February, and the Conservatives took that away from the Liberals. So you had a brand new government, brand new everything. So that, I would say, is the comparable to here. Government is the same now as it was before, but you have a new leader. So you have a new guy in charge, and I will say the same thing would happen with Joe Clark in 1979. They didn't table their budget until October-ish, I believe, of that year. From February till October. It took them that long to do that. So They're going to do it this time around. They're going to do it in the fall, it looks like. It may seem like a long time, but historically, when they change governments or change at least the guy at the top, there's not going to be a budget right away.
Right.
There's whatever was written in the budget up until there's a new leader, it was scrapped. They could keep pieces of it, but the budget is very important, and a lot of details, a lot of fine details you got to put into it.
Yeah.
And you can't do that right away. You can't rush it. It's just a lot of thought, a lot of consultation, a lot of bullshit. And so here you go. It's going to be done in fall. It sucks, but this is the way it is.
Okay, that's fine. I would say that the only thing I would argue against, or used to argue against you, is that Carney is a guy who said he had a clear plan and a clear idea of spending and budgeting and all that as part of his campaign. He's a former central banker and understands why it's so important to table a budget. He's a guy who has worked with the party for 5 years-ish as an advisor, economic advisor. You could argue he's really been the sort of brain behind liberal policy to this point. Whether it's worked or not, different story, but he's familiar with the books, I would say. And I think that those two things are enough for me to argue that he should have released a budget. And he could have said something like, this is a budget that is very much in flux, but we want to give Canadians the transparency they voted for. And so here's what we're going to do in the next 6 months. We're going to leave part of this budget intact from the fall economic statement, and we're going to make a change on this portfolio, that portfolio, this line item, that line item, whatever. The other thing I think he has to know is the budget is symbolic more than it's, brass tacks. He is already talking about spending a ton of money. So no one's going to be upset if the country spends, to the nth degree. That's what they voted for. But when you don't release a budget, it makes it look like you're hiding something. And the country does care about that. You're shaking your head. I think the country cares about that at least a little bit.
No. So what happens, I think that the way it works is the Department of Finance goes to Treasury Board, and Treasury Board releases funding, and it gets allocated to each of the ministers, each of the departments, based on what's written in the budget itself. Mm-hmm. And the last budget, the last leader, there was a lot to do with environmental, a lot to do with EVs. There may be a change from that. We had Honda, for example, put a pause on building out their new plants in Ontario.
Yeah.
So maybe there may be a change in the direction for, say, electric vehicle, which was a decent size of the budget. And you can't just continue on with what they had. The new guy, I'm talking about Carney, may have a different direction. Mm-hmm. We won't know until the budget is laid out. And that's going to be really that's their platform, right?
I should be clear. Like, I actually agree with you. I'm saying, like, devil's advocate, I would say there was reasons why he should have done it, but I actually agree with you. As someone who, I'm not like a technical expert on budgeting, but like, it doesn't bother me they didn't release one, honestly.
But they couldn't. Yeah. There was just no possibility to do it. Everything was rushed. They had to rush to put in a leader. Can't believe they put in a leader that quickly, but they did. Then immediately after that, they're in campaign mode for 5 weeks. And then, was it 37 days? Yeah. So their focus was primarily on the election. Sure, there was still stuff to do with Canada as a whole, but really they were focused at the task at hand. And the priorities were initially to get a new leader, elect that, and then after that, finish the election. And here we are. And they're going to have their few weeks before they convene for the summer. Yeah. I don't know. The optics don't look good, but again, going back to Joe Clark days, like, that's the only comparable I could use. It seems like this is par for the course, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I like you said, you laid it out perfectly. There's precedent for this. If you can say what you want about the guy, but he's not done anything, I think, like, out of line or broadly unpalatable as far as like Canadian elections are concerned, prime ministers are concerned, any of that stuff, to be honest with you. So
See, Canada Post is going to go on strike this Friday.
I saw on Friday. Yeah, who cares? Every time they go on strike, the Amazon Hydra grows another head, so they can do whatever they want. But they're building a beast underneath themselves that's gonna be hard to tame.
The last time it fucked me up with the strike, with getting some documentation that I sorely needed.
Yeah,
but it worked out fine in the end. It just delayed shit for me. But my gosh, after that, I've only used Canada Post once. And
once you use another service, you'll never go back to CP.
Well, the reason I used it one more time is just because of proximity. It's closer to home than other things.
Yeah.
So I just had to use it. But
for the football channel, I have a ball right now, like in the lab there, just drying out. That's going to be sent out this week. I'm going to use probably FedEx to do it. And I just think Canada Post, like, it's a pain to go to Shoppers Drug Mart, and like the people behind the counter at Shoppers Drug Mart don't know how to do certain things. They don't measure your box accurately. I had to get the girl to measure my box a second time, like a week ago, because it was too much money. The shipping was like $3 or $4 too much, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when the shipping is only $17, that's like 20%, you know? So I said, you got to measure this again. She missed it by like 8 centimeters. Like, she was off by so much. I guess maybe she just like dragged the other side of the tape measure or something, but little stuff like that bothers me, this attention to detail. I realize that Shoppers Drug Mart is not exactly Canada Post, but they are representing Canada Post at those branches. And that's how most people interact with the post office. Let's face it. It's either right at the door or a Shoppers Drug Mart. So,
well, they're also trying to change their services now, the door to door.
Remember, they're going to build houses on top of Canada Post last year?
Yeah. You know, I used to get door to door straight to my house, but then they put in those super boxes. That was one of the areas I got it. And I remember,
sorry to hear that.
Oh, you know what? It is what it is. I don't give a fuck. But I remember when I was first being done, I have a friend that works at Canada Post, and he delivers in Oakville, in one of the more affluent areas of Oakville. And he was saying that people were so fucking pissed that he was getting threats, not himself, but they were saying, if you put that up, I'm going to get my SUV, whatever, chain it up to that and just fucking rip it off its anchors, and it will never be set up. People are just so fucking pissed, but whatever. They're trying to phase out, or at least the talks don't want to phase out the door-to-door delivery for, because they keep the...
They can, but I like door-to-door. We have door-to-door where I am, and
they want to do it more on the weekends, more than day-to-day.
Well, I mean, at some point, this is not anything related to Bitcoin, but at some point, Canada Post has to admit they have a problem with their business plan. Like, you don't deliver on weekends. You don't have the fastest service. You don't have the cheapest service. You can talk about rural Ontario or rural parts of Canada all you want, but the fact of the matter is, someone will take up that mantle, because that mail has to get delivered. And I think those services that will take up the mantle also realize then that the government will pay any price. And so, whether it's Amazon doing rural deliveries on your tax dollar or Canada Post doing them on your tax dollar, doesn't make a difference, except that one is going to be way cheaper, ununionized, faster, and more accountable. And it's not the guys in the red shirts. So like, these are things that you have to contend with if you're Canada Post. And I make that, Hydra joke in jest, but it is true. The longer these guys go on strike, the more they force people to become reliant and force exposure to other services they may not have otherwise been exposed to. And it's hard to go back. In this case, the grass is greener a lot of the time, whether it's like at the door pickup from FedEx and UPS, whether it's cheaper delivery services. In fact, like it's hard to compete with these guys. There's a reason UPS and FedEx became monsters at a time when arguably mail delivery and parcel delivery took a drop, right? Like, dropped off. Amazon though is the elephant in the room. Like, they're going to do whatever Canada Post does, faster, better, and cheaper. And Canada Post has to start thinking about what their plan is for the future. And it's not the long term either. It's like right now they got to start thinking about it.
They got an army of folks working for them. I got 2 more stories, but this show is getting long in the tooth, so we'll only pick one of them.
Sure.
So you get to pick. They got this. I should have talked about this with the refugee stuff, but more information about the refugees that Mike Campbell threw out there, or also the second story, this pamphlet about MAID. The
MAID thing is fucked for kids.
It is, yeah. So you pick. We could do the refugee stuff.
Let's do both. Let's do both. Fuck it. We'll go till 140. The MAID story pisses me off. The thing is, I can't tell where that pamphlet came from. I can't tell if
there's
that's
more
an
than
awareness. Okay, go ahead.
There's more than just that one thing. So the pamphlet, there's more to it, and some of it hasn't really made its rounds. It's a piece of it says 1 in 10 people will wait more than 4 months for counseling.
I know.
The waiting period for MAID is only 3 months.
God.
So you shave off 1 month if you want it off yourself. I don't mean to laugh.
It's unbelievable though. It's like it's
fuck?
like tragic. The whole thing is tragic. I don't even know.
And then
what
the other
else
one
to
was
say.
talking about they want to make MAID for potentially children and teens. And right now it's in a special committee for MPs and senators to discuss about allowing minors to get access to this. This would remove the minimum age eligibility for getting access to MAID. So
I don't know what to say about this. It's sickening. Like what kind of fucked up country, assuming this is like an official pamphlet advertising availability of MAID and not raising awareness about how dumb this is. There's like no crime or no punishment that's severe enough for this level of demonic behavior. It's truly embarrassing for the country if this is something that's coming from a hospital or from a healthcare provider.
all right, last story. Mike Campbell posted this, and I thought it was really interesting.
Love Mike.
2023 federal audit showed that 7,000 people who tried to come to Canada and applied were actually granted. They were red flagged by Canada Border Service agencies and other security agencies for stuff like espionage, war crimes, terrorism, but still half of them were able to come into Canada for some reason. They're amongst us. So it's 3,500 folks, give or take, were let in 2023. Presumably they're still here. I don't know. So war crimes, espionage, terrorism, they're still here amongst us. Maybe they're delivering Amazon packages. Who the fuck knows? But right, this is why I GTFO. Right?
It's not right. It's not right.
Part of it.
Like you see these stories about, like, again, not to. I hate doing this because like there are people in my life who say like it's like, oh, you're being racist by talking about like Indian crime and like the Somalian immigrant crime and stuff like that. But I can only work with the stories that are out there. And there are, of course, white criminals, Chinese criminals. We've talked about them on the show. We talked about money laundering last week. We've talked about God knows how many different races and ethnicities and religions of criminals over the last 5 years on this program. Tons of it. Okay. We are equal opportunity commentators on the news. But it's hard for me to ignore that when every major metropolitan police force is tweeting out stories about recent crime, rings of crime, rashes of crime, pick your term, okay? There's a clear pandemic, okay, an epidemic, let's say, of new immigrants to Canada committing crimes. And some of the crimes are stuff like stolen cars, break and enters. We've seen guys robbing jewelry stores. There was that group of kids in Grimsby last week or a couple weeks ago robbing a jewelry store. But some of the crimes are worse, okay? Some of the crimes are people delivering Amazon, molesting women at the door. Some of the crimes are people delivering Amazon, trying to pick up kids in their car. Some of the crimes are new immigrants to Canada taking photos of children at parks. There was a deleted post on the Kitchener subreddit about 2 months ago of photos of a handful of Indian guys, probably in their 60s, just standing around a bunch of kids on the monkey bars, just standing under the monkey bars amidst a bunch of children. If that ever happens near my kid, there will be hell to pay like no one will believe. And Canadians, I think broadly speaking, are tired of this. And it's not just like you could say, Joey, when you say Canadians, it's code for white. You're retarded. It's Canadians who have been here for 30 years, okay? Of all stripes, all religions, all races. It's Muslim Canadians, it's Catholic Canadians, it's Jewish Canadians, it's Chinese Canadians, African Canadians, Indian Canadians. We had a good thing going here up until, I don't know, like people say 2015. I don't know if that's fair or not, but clearly that good thing is being shaken a bit. And for people to continue to just ignore this or pretend otherwise, like the story of the Palestinian protests in Toronto that forced an ambulance to stop and reroute on the way to an emergency.
And I want to thank Bobby Hill on Discord. Give some follow up to this story.
Yeah,
Apparently,
go
there was
ahead.
a child inside.
It's just like
That
what
ambulance.
is the rationale for not napalming that protest when that happens? Like the Canadians can only stand for so long in defense of these people and their freedoms, right? And I'm using freedoms loosely. What are we to do as Canadians? Are we just supposed to say like, "Hey man, I hope everything goes okay," or are we supposed to stand up for something that we had as recently as a decade ago, or are we supposed to put ourselves in harm's way to be vigilantes, or like what are we supposed to do? What I'm not going to do is stand by and do nothing, right? What I'm not going to do is not talk about it on the show. What I'm not going to do is be afraid to get called a racist or a xenophobe or whatever for pointing out that, yeah, bringing in third world simpletons and pretending they're going to contribute to the economy when they're coming from places that don't respect women, they're sexually depraved, they don't understand the mores and methods and expectations of a modern society, a high trust society. I'm not going to pretend that bringing them over is a good idea, and neither should you. And if it works and we get what we're looking for here, and we affect change in those systems, great. We'll have been rewarded for our efforts. But if it doesn't work, then at least you can say you tried. And that's about as far as any rational person should go. Once those things don't work, you have to start thinking about leaving. And I think you and me talk about it all the time. People in the chat talk about it all the time on the Discord. There's a whole fucking channel for it now. There's only so much that sane people will tolerate before they go. And when all the sane people have had enough, you can guess what kind of society you'll be left with. And I think that's all I'll say.
That's it, boys and gals.
Good night.
And everyone else.
Good night. See you Wednesday. Me and Joe Barbuto talking about all the good things happening in Canada's economy right now. Got to be honest with you. It's a short list. We'll talk about that and much more Wednesday night. And we'll see you then.
Don't be